What up, what up, what up? Happy Tuesday. Day. What is going on, everyone? I'm Shadell, co-host of Paging the Simpsons. I'm joined by my lovely wife,
Lauren.
Man. Okay, I'm gonna put this out there for transparency reasons because I feel like I just have to. Second time restarting wasn't because of the computer. So just for everyone's information, I got a new computer, new MacBook. Was working off a Mac Mini that was super old. So hoping to continue to bring good quality at less of having an issue of restarting. And the second time we are restarting is not due to the computer, but we won't put any blame anywhere.
Excuse me.
I said I'm not putting blame anywhere.
I'm sorry that your equipment is weird and wonky and I can't even move it 2 centimeters without it just disconnecting.
No, it's just tight at the end here, and you should be careful.
Well,
like that's really
sir,
just it, bro.
I know, because we had a cute intro last time with Missy, so.
I want to say it's cute. I wouldn't say
anything
it's
with her is cute.
Don't lie to yourself, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So back to where we're at there. So we're gonna skip the whole ad of our t-shirts. Not gonna plug it. Maybe we'll plug it later on, but we won't get into that good stuff. This episode, just to give everyone a heads up, it's gonna be a bit more on the political side. Nothing too wild and crazy, but it's gonna be talking about Trump and the ban of TikTok and WeChat, and that kind of stuff. Since that's what's kind of been popping the past week, so we're gonna talk about it. Before we get into it, we're gonna talk about Ruth, and I'm gonna have you take on the last part of her name because I butchered it last time. So
Bader Ginsburg.
There we go. I said it correctly.
If you want to avoid that, you could just say RBG, like people are saying AOC.
There we go.
It's just like
RBG. So we just want to say rest in peace to RBG. I don't have a lot of input on this because I'm not someone that's like gonna jump out and
a man.
It's not even that. Just I'm not a big fan of someone that like someone passes away and people want to automatically give someone their flowers when they're dead. I have a major issue with that. But I'll say this: she, as far as I know and everyone else, she was a great figure that continued to push boundaries and making things happen for women and just equality as a whole. And I am super fearful as far as what's going to happen, now that she's gone and who's going to take that seat. And, Trump's whole thing with draining the swamp when he's really just bringing in his own swamp monsters to, do his bidding is really what's going to happen. I'll let you, take it on from there because I don't have much to add for. Oh, wait, hold on. Real quick. One thing I want to mention is her being a multiple cancer survivor is wild. It's not one, but I believe 3. So that's crazy in itself. Like, yeah. So you just have to admire someone that has that much strength.
And she worked until she died.
Yeah. Didn't chill. Didn't want to be like, I'm going to retire. Like, nah, I'm working.
She's like one of the people that most deserved a lavish retirement.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, wow. Okay, so, so a couple things. One of the things that I had reposted, Austin Channing on Twitter had tweeted this. When she first passed, it said, "I need to apologize in advance. I really want to pause and give RBG her flowers. She deserves so much praise and celebration. But right now, I'm overwhelmed by the prospect of what comes next. I'm so concerned about women's rights, civil rights for POC, LGBT rights. I'm worried."
Yeah.
That kind of puts it in perspective. Because again, everyone's at risk except white males. So here we are again. So that's just kind of annoying. And then I had seen this thing. I saw a better one than this, but something that kind of wrapped up all of the things that she did. So it says, women, if you have a credit card in your own name and your own credit history, if you have leased an apartment or bought property in your name, if you have consented to your own medical treatment, if you played a sport in school, then you can thank Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Wow.
The amount of things.
Wow.
I had seen something. I don't know where. I just saw it.
Why?
I saw something that. Oh, also, you don't get fired for being pregnant is because of her.
That's wild.
Did you know? Apparently, I think it was up until 1972, a woman could be fired because she was pregnant.
I believe it.
So
so wild.
Well, right, and so it's like all these things that she did for women to move us forward, you know, because that's like a basic. Again, think about that. We're wired from a young age that we're supposed to have kids. And that's like part of being a woman, and that's part of, you know, blah, 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 which has its own things, but that's another conversation for another time. But it's like, okay, so if we're supposed to, but nowadays we're also supposed to work because we have to, just because of income and all that. Now it's an issue if I'm working and get pregnant. But you see, I have to work to pay for the pregnancy and the child, but I have to be pregnant while I work, because why would I not work for 9 months unless I have, like, you know, severe complications or something? So love that. Like, what? Just so many. I'm like, playing a sport. I believe it. Just all the simple things that's like, yeah, we take for granted nowadays, because these were things that she did over like decades.
Yeah.
I think 60 years or something like that she served. Like, she started, you know, way down as like an office clerk, and she kind of like worked her way all the way up, which was incredible. So, yeah. It's like I'm that person who, I try not to follow politics all the time, and so I don't know every single person and like what they do and all this stuff. And so I wasn't like super, super keen on everything she had done when she was alive. But I mean, dang, like our country would be completely different if it wasn't for her. That's a legacy.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah. It's just scary that now all of the minorities essentially.
You know, it's funny. We'll talk about it later on in this episode. But, you know, if Trump wants to push pro-America history, yo, she better be in it. But I doubt it.
Oh, and probably I don't know. I may be mistaken. I was gonna say I don't know if she had something to do with abortion, because I know that was Roe v. Wade. But I'm sure she probably, I don't know, just women's rights in general. A lot of stuff she had a say in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're all just kind of nervous right now, especially because then Mitch McConnell is over here 4 years ago saying, oh, we should wait until there's a new president to replace. And now all of a sudden oh no.
You know what's interesting?
There was some. Yeah, go ahead.
Obama had the same issue like 10 months before the election.
Yep.
And the Republicans pushed back and said that, like,
that's what I'm saying. Do it. That's what I'm saying.
And it's like, dog, this is the issue. This is why, me personally, again, if you guys aren't familiar, if you're new to the podcast, shout out to you. But like, me personally, I have a major issue. Lauren knows when things aren't like when things are one-sided, and I hate that so much. So like,
he does. It's true.
Yo, Obama does the same thing. Suggests, yo, we should get this person in the Supreme Court because there's a seat available, and it gets rejected. And here we go. Trump's like, yo, we gotta get someone quickly. I should have someone by next week that we can put it like
ridiculous.
What? The lady just passed. Like, dog.
This was it. So McConnell let a $3 trillion coronavirus relief bill sit on his desk for over 100 days, but took an hour after the announcement of RBG's passing before releasing a statement vowing to hold a vote to replace her. I'm sorry.
But
like,
again,
I thought that was messy. And honestly, again, these are things that make you go,
But here's my issue.
Because why are you releasing that so quickly?
And here's my issue. Here's the reason why I have so many problems with people that rock with Trump. I get it. You like the man. Okay, cool. That's not a problem. But you guys are playing like a crooked side of the field. Like I saw, it's ridiculous. I saw on a forum, not a forum, on a local forum, for one of the towns that are close by, probably one that I was talking about in a past episode, where someone was like, the Wicked Witch is dead, like probably like an hour or two after she was dead. And you know who he's talking about. And everyone was like, like. It's like, why are regular ass people like you and me talking about, you're happy that like this woman's dead?
What did she do?
Like, your mind is so twisted because of these people you follow that you're like, I'm so happy this lady's dead. Like, what? Do you have daughters? Do you have them? Do you have, like...
And again, I will divert back to, I feel like these are all just white men.
It was, obviously.
Who are saying this because... Again, they're getting intimidated that it's like, people are having more rights and more say over their body and over their choices and all this different stuff. And it's like, why? I don't understand why it is so threatening for women, for people of color, for LGBTQ people, like all these people just to live, just to have basic general rights that... If you don't agree with, you don't have to do. If you don't want to live that way, you don't have to. Like, that's the beauty of it. But you cannot say what another person can do. It's the whole, we talked about the whole abortion thing and how over the years my stance has changed on that because I saw the light of it's just... about women being able to have say over their own bodies. How? Because, I've watched Handmaid's Tale, okay?
I've been enlightened. That's what it sounds like.
No.
I watched Handmaid's Tale.
No.
I've seen the world.
No, that's not, they don't go together. But I will say, one, it's terrifying because you feel like that could actually happen. But two, it's a perfect example of women not having control over their own bodies and being used as objects and property again, and it's like, why is it an issue? Like, right? There's a whole other, gender over here. Like, I don't know how many women there are in this world, but there's a lot. And you're telling a whole big population what they can or can't do. And that's obviously not going to go over well in a quote-unquote free country. Like, I can't speak for the rest of the world because, sure, they have their own messed up stuff going on. But here, we are quote-unquote free.
It's funny you say that because I was just watching something from Vice News about, like, if they were to push a new person and take over RGB's place, it could, like, this could happen or that can happen and it won't play out for them. And one of the things was, I don't know how they got to this, like, this part of it was it would affect abortion, and which would then trigger Republicans, yes, but it would trigger a lot of women that are are pro-choice to go out and vote if you're gonna push someone into office that, like,
I saw something very similar. You're like, you keep triggering everything that I've seen.
And I'm just like, if you go on Vice News, you'll be able to find, not you, but people that are listening, they'll be able to see the video.
So I actually was going to send this to you earlier today. One of the people I'm friends with on Facebook, she said, first will be abortion, next will be birth control, make no mistake. Then we'll have infant and maternal mortality rate higher than it is now, which is higher than any other developed nation. We will have more women dying of postpartum related suicide and more infant deaths due to it. Women in abusive relationships will have less freedom to flee. Rape victims will be forced to carry rapist babies. People already in poverty will be stuck there and be in worse situations than they are now. A conservative Supreme Court will not only not save lives, it will destroy many more. Abortion is not something we should be voting on. It is a medical procedure between a person and their doctor. And I was just like, that's it. That's it. And it's very scary. The whole, like, it starts with one and then it's going to trickle down. Like, for example, like, you know, my birth control, and if things go real sideways, my birth control can then start to get more expensive and then start to be harder to get. I could probably have to go through hoops to get it, and then eventually maybe not even be able to get it. Like, it's a whole, you can unravel everything. Because, you know, if you want to go way over there, you know, the whole Christianity thing, the whole things they preach, is that you should not be using any form of birth control. You should just let babies happen when babies are going to happen. That's like what way, you know, that kind of side, if you're all in, believes. Hence, like the 19 Kids and Counting and all that kind of stuff, that show. Like, it's, if you're that extreme, then yes, they don't believe in birth control.
Hold up. I've been like on an awakening just like you. Yeah, so check this out.
Oh, God.
Check this out. So, I was watching a video, and it clicked to me.
He just had an epiphany.
What's the American dream?
Is this a trick question?
No, what's the American dream? What do they pitch to you?
That you can do what you want, build a better life, better job, all that.
Family, car, house, degree from college.
Oh, I thought you were saying like if you're like immigrating.
No, that's what they give to you. You have, this is the American dream. You go to college, you get your family, get your house, get your car, all that stuff, right?
Right.
All that stuff leads to debt.
Yeah.
I always ask myself this question: as if Republicans are so like pro-choice and like you can wear a mask, you can choose not to wear a mask, you can do this and that. I don't want to, you know, enforce myself on you. But when it comes to kids, it's cool. Here's my thought as to this, because again, we're in America, so it's run by money. I never thought about it this way, but kids lead to more debt.
Well, yeah.
And you having to spend more.
Yeah.
So I think it's bigger. It's a bigger picture than it being like, yo, it's wrong to kill a kid. You don't know that person's situation. I'm not taking care of the kid. I don't like.
Well, that's what she just said. She's like, people who are already bad off are going to remain bad off and get worse.
I always throw this thing mainly to you because I haven't said it to anyone else because I don't really have these conversations. But I'm like, what if someone was to have this kid? They treat this kid poorly, put him down, attack him or her, and then this kid grows up to be one of these serial killers, the school shooters, whatever you want to call it. Was it really worth it? Was having that kid?
Well, yeah, it's a wild card when you have a kid. You never know what,
because they grew up in an environment that did not love them.
That too.
And then they go and take out. So
whatever.
It's like the whole thing of like, you know, would you save one person? Would you kill one person to save another?
Those
group or whatever.
Oh, those things in like math class or whatever that they would have you like do, not math. I don't know, some class that they would have you do. What about, okay, there's one person over here on this train track, but there's 5 people on this train track, and I just hated those questions. But
that's what I'm starting to think now.
Yeah.
Where the reason I want you to have kids is like, yeah, of course, killing a kid is wrong. I get it. Especially if you have the finances and money, like, it's wild.
Well, like, okay, let's put it this way. Obviously, we know people shouldn't be having, like, serial abortions. People shouldn't use that as a form of birth control. Because also, let's talk about the fact that that's not even good for the woman. I mean, that could really mess you up.
Yeah.
So, but outside of that, I mean, just having as an option, because God forbid it was a very bad situation or something, you know? Like, she mentioned, like, the rape babies. I don't know what I would do. I've gone back and forth with that argument in my head. I
totally understand. I'm not a woman, so, again, take my views as a grain of salt, because
Right, because again, you understand that women have choice on their bodies.
Yeah.
So.
But if I was a woman and that was to happen to me, I wouldn't have that kid, because a part of me is like, dog, I didn't want you.
Right.
It happened. Like, I'm always going to be reminded, as much joy and happiness as a kid brings outside of that, I'm going to be reminded of that for the rest of my life.
And that's what I think of. And also the fact that you could look in that kid's face and always see the person's face.
Mm-hmm.
That I always think of that. But then I just don't know, because I feel like it's one of those, you don't know until you're in the situation, like what comes over you or like what you're compelled to do. But again, that is a very good time to have the choice, because also, like you said, think of where does it go from there. If you hate this kid, you can neglect them, abuse them, like whatever it is. What kind of life is that? You hate it, they hate it. Like, it's a whole And I'm a firm believer there are some people should not be mothers in this world, period.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a very true thing. People are not made to be parents all the time. So yeah, this really went sideways. We were like, it's not going to be too serious.
Nope. I mean, it's not really serious. It's conversations that have to happen. I don't really see it being serious when it's like it needs to happen.
Yeah. But anywho, all that to say, she made a big impact, and I just really hope things don't get completely reversed, because as it is, like, even in healthcare and all that, a lot of that stuff's gotten undone, and yeah.
To move on to the next topic, which is Trump and his ban of TikTok and WeChat. So, an update on the situation.
What a circus.
So we didn't touch on this because after we recorded, the news came out that, TikTok was dropping Microsoft, and Oracle won the bid, to take over the company. Then further news came out where essentially it's not really like Oracle's taking over the company. They're kind of still operating as their own. It's like some weird type of backwards agreement to still have like TikTok be its own thing, but not like literally under Oracle. So yeah, that happens. So throughout the week, news kept coming back and forth of like
back and forth. Oh my gosh.
Of like what's happening. News saying Trump is going to review this deal and all that stuff. First off, it's wild that the White House has its hands in here, and we have now, I believe we hit 200,000 or past 200,000 people dying of coronavirus, and we're taking care of a Chinese problem that's not even a problem.
Well, that, and people are saying this is a distraction.
Obviously.
Because, like, it's wild. Really, like, why, out of everything, this is the most important thing?
And then on top of it, they're looking into possibly banning Fortnite, the people that make Epic Games, the people that make Fortnite.
Which is wild.
Because of their ties with Tencent, which is a big, like, gaming company that's in China.
Oh, come on.
And it's like, come on now.
That one's a reach.
Like, it's pretty much like, anything that's from China, we're gonna ban. I'm like,
except products, because they're really cheap.
No, we're gonna make it in America.
No, we ain't.
It's never gonna happen.
No, we ain't. That was a big thing. At the end of the day, no. Big businesses are never going to completely make stuff in America. Sure, maybe some, but they're never going to do all that because it doesn't make sense for their profit margin.
You probably don't remember this because you don't follow them like that. But even like, what was it, like maybe a year or two ago, Apple put out their desktop computer that, costs thousands of.
And that was insane one.
It's more for like, high-end movie editing,
right,
like stuff like that. And that was like the last product that was going to be made in the U.S. That was going to be taken over to China. And then he talked Trump into like essentially saving Apple and not having them pay like some type of like tariff or something like that if they were to keep that in the U.S. And Tim Apple, because if you don't understand that joke, Trump made that mistake of his name and called him Tim Apple, so everyone just calls him that now. He's been doing a great job with maneuvering through Trump and like making sure Apple's not being affected by all these stupid moves that Trump wants to make that impacts his company.
These businesses, they're not going to have it.
And for example, it's funny you say that because Apple's looking to start doing things in India as well. I believe they're starting. What they just do? Something's launching on the 23rd. I'm drawing a blank. In India. I'm not sure if it's like a service or product. I'm drawing a blank on my head, but like they're moving into other countries because again, it's cheaper to operate within these places. Okay, back to TikTok and all that stuff. So transition throughout the whole week. We're not sure what's happening. That news comes out, I believe Thursday or Friday, that they're gonna ban TikTok. And then so much conflicting news because
it went back and forth in a matter of like 2 days.
Yeah, because Oracle's sitting here like, we'll have some type of agreement, by this weekend, and Trump's sitting here and his team are like, yo, we're gonna, ban WeChat and TikTok by Sunday. Then
at first we didn't know if it was a full ban, so everyone was freaking out, but then it was like, oh, it was just you can't download it or update it, and then maybe a full ban on November 12th.
So news came out Saturday that it got approved,
last minute.
And it's hard to even understand how it got approved because I kept seeing approved in concept, and then it said Trump approves it. I'm like, I'm so confused.
I know, like, what does in concept
and then
mean?
So no one said anything about WeChat, but a judge, what was it, at the Supreme Court? A judge,
it's still up there.
Well, yeah, it's still up because it was approved. I think approved for another week, I believe.
Oh, so we'll see next
believe.
week.
Don't quote me on that. And then a judge went and said, what do you call it? They're blocking that whole thing on blocking WeChat because, again, businesses like Facebook and Apple use WeChat to communicate because that's like their social media platform in China and those countries. So it's like, you're kind of impacting their business. Let's be real. Like, I really don't understand.
People are going to play when it comes to business and money.
These are things that I don't understand when you rock with this current administration. And I'm going to pose this to my friends when I get the chance because some of them rock with the Republican side, Trump side, you could say. I just lost my question I was just going to ask them.
You're so fired up.
Damn, I lost the question I was gonna ask.
Just completely. Whoo. What?
It was right there, and then I talked, and it was just like, "Nah, I'm gone."
So, does it have to do with TikTok or apps or?
It did indeed.
China or?
Yeah, it did, and I can't think of it. Oh, there we go. So here's my issue. I have a few friends that are like high on America's supply. And when I say that, it's like they're all about America. America's great, this and that. Look at all these countries. I go to this country. This country's a shithole. Quote from Trump. And I'm sitting here like, dog, do you not see what's happening in America? Like, we can't have our own viewpoints because if not, Trump doesn't like it and it's going to be a problem. We can't go out and peacefully protest because if not, he's going to call the police and have the police tear gas and shoot people or throw bullets in the face and get them out of the place. Like, what's making us so different from these other countries?
When you look at other developed countries, there's no way we're quote unquote the best in the world.
We couldn't even help the people during this pandemic.
Right. There's many other developed countries that are solid. Everybody says we're free, democracy, that's what makes us better. Okay, I don't really see people in like France and Italy and all this like not having a fulfilling life just because they don't have a presidency.
Yep.
I don't know. It's because there's also a difference. Like, there's different kinds of government. It's not like these places have dictatorships. They're still not that aggressive.
Like, Canada's probably the closest to the U.S.
And when I tell you, I saw a TikTok the other day, ironically enough, it was someone from some other country in Europe, and basically they duetted this person who was like, they were asking questions like, what do you think of when the U.S. reacts this way? What do you think of the presidency? What do you think of how they handled the pandemic? What do you think of, X, Y, and Z, the things that we've been going through? And everybody says the same thing. All these other countries look at us like we're crazy and that they feel bad for us because they think we're imploding. They just, like, genuinely, they know that everybody's not as insane as the media depicts, and they feel bad that as a nation, we're just kind of, ruining ourselves.
Well, I mean...
Like, it's just a messy situation that they just watch in awe. They're like, how could it get this far? And it's very interesting because we're now that nation that everyone's like, how could you let it get this far? And it has, and that's kind of scary.
Just a brief side note as we're recording this. Dog, do you see how my battery life is draining right now?
I mean,
Like, I was at 100 and we're at 58. By the time we end this podcast, I'll give you guys an update. But, like, damn.
well, that doesn't surprise me. You're using
Come on, use
something intense.
God damn. Good to
Man,
know. I got to bring a charger.
My computer could never. I have a 6-year-old MacBook Air, so like the entry level version. So mine could never.
Yeah, but that's the crazy part. Back to what we were talking about. We people like to say America's so great, but we're not. Yo, we're like, you guys are delusional, and I guess we'll just get into it. I wasn't planning on it, but when Trump's like, he wants to push more. Let me pull up this article. More like pro-America, like topics in our education. That is wild. He wants to create a national commission to push more pro-American history. And
Pro-whitewashed American history.
here's the thing. I mentioned this guy before. Bo, the Fifth Column on YouTube. I watch this guy a lot. I rock with him. At first, I was like,
the one in the garage.
Yeah, his name's Bo.
Yeah.
I mean, he starts off with the same thing. Hi, it's Bo again.
You know,
something like that.
Exactly. So that's why I was clarifying.
And at first, when I saw this video, probably like a year ago, I'm like, yo, what does this white guy have to say on like anything? And like, dog, this guy
it's
is
funny
like,
because he
dope.
looks like he would be on the other side. Like the stereotypical.
But this guy is like super educated, and I love it. I freaking love it. And he had a good point where it's like, you can push your education and all that stuff. It's not going to make Americans love their country. Like, that love is earned. Like, you have to feel like America's doing something for you. To be like, yo, I really love America.
Again.
I'm gonna rock with America. Like, this is my country.
You know, I've said it before in like context of relationships, but this too. Love is a verb. You have to show things. You have to do things. It's like, again, like you were saying, earn respect. You know, this whole like parents think that automatically their kids should respect them. No, they respect you because of how you teach them and how you are to them.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
And he's 100% correct, because no matter how many books you read of America and the history, like, that's cool and all, but you have people out here protesting that they don't feel equal. They feel less than. Why would we have the same love of America as a white person if we feel like we're not valued the same?
Well, and the whole, you can read in a history book, but history books are whitewashed.
And here's the thing. Here goes Trump saying he wants to push more pro-America, which is him saying, yo, we're going to take out certain things and not tell you about it. This is why we're in the situation like that we got in, because we sit here and we find the information. We find out Christopher Columbus really killed all these people. And
we find out that the Mount Washington tore up an indigenous, like, sacred land.
Dog. Yes, I say it all the time, where they're like, yo, F your land. We're going to put faces of our presidents on this. Like, that's so reckless, where you just, imagine me going to someone's property and just, spray painting all over it, be like, no, it's mine now.
Well, right.
But, no, we're supposed to rock with these people.
You know, so a friend of mine who I went to high school with, she wrote a status earlier today, actually, and was saying, she was just doing research, and she's like, what, BIPOC authors were taught in your school, like, actually, people of color that wrote the books, or either were like, it was the focus or something, because she was saying, she's like, I remember one at best, and you know that's not shocking because of where I went to school. But like, multiple people, there was an array of responses. It was very interesting because I'm pretty sure she has a decently diverse friends list, and like from different areas and stuff. So I feel like it also depends. But there were a good handful of responses where it was like, yeah, you're right. Like, maybe one at best. And they were all, like, white men is who wrote these age-old books, of course, because, again, also women didn't have rights back then, especially women of color, but even white women. And, yeah, it's a good point. That even down to that, it's all in, I have a shirt coming from Etsy that I saw my friend was wearing the other day. And it just says support women owned. And of course, that's like a big thing for me because, women owned businesses we need to, continue to support. It's like that. You show what's important by what you read, what you spend your money on, what you watch on TV, what you endorse, what you live. And so it needs to be taught younger of here is a diverse array of people who have contributed in beneficial ways, and we need to include them in our lives.
Bro, since you said that, you guys can't see it here, but it should be live on the Etsy shop. Good Feeling Apparel, link in the description. But I saw this image and I created a shirt based off it where it's like pro Black Lives Matters, pro LGBT, pro choice, pro science, pro all these things that you agree with.
Feminism, humanism, immigrant, and sex worker.
And yeah, this shirt will be going up, and you're like, yo, you would rock it? I'm like, I'd probably rock this too. Like,
I'm gonna buy it.
Like,
I want it.
Yeah, it's needed in our lives. But I wanted to show you that since you brought it up there. But I'm like, yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah, I know. A lot of hard work.
But that's it. Again, just pro-human. That's all it is. But yeah, it's very important to include.
It's crazy. It's crazy to me. I always think about this. Sorry to cut you off.
Okay.
It's crazy because when I'm talking to my friends, mainly the guys I play Xbox with,
the bros,
currently, because I can't go outside and hang out with people. They're always like, yo, they like history, and I could probably ask them what happened in this time period or whatever, and they're big on it. I didn't care about any of that. I can't relate to any of those time periods. Like I don't understand the pointless killings and wars that were back then. Like it never related to me. It never made sense. And it's like you guys are sitting here being like, yo, I love history, I love this and that. And it's like, of course you do, because history relates to you in a way. Like it relates to white people just tearing things up. But as soon as people get upset and tear things up for the right reasons, yo, it's a problem.
So that reminds me of a conversation I had the other day. I was working on a mom for a wedding, and she seemed like an open individual.
Oh boy.
It was, yeah. And because she was talking, and I cannot remember the exact subject she was mentioning, it made a lot of sense why it segued. But we were like going back and forth, and I was like saying how like, yeah, this is such, a year for like the eye opening and a lot of things coming to light. And I had mentioned briefly like the Black Lives Matter, and I prefaced it by saying my husband's black, because I was like, you can't really tell me I can't feel that way, just like someone who is married to a cop or something. So, and then it got into the whole, yeah, no, I understand, and there are things that need to change, but when they do the riots and all this, that's where it's just a little much and all that. And I kind of was like, oh yeah, it's frustrating when they tried the peaceful protests, and that those unfortunately didn't work either. And she for some reason mentioned, she's like, oh no, there were riots in the 60s, and I was like, oh, I was talking about like the kneeling, like this day and age. And then we just dropped it because we moved on to something else. I had to like ask her about her lashes or something. And then like we moved on because it was just getting like, I'm like, I can't go down this rabbit hole because I'm working, like it's just, we can't get too political up in here.
Yeah.
And so, but when she mentioned that, so then I got to thinking when I was on the drive home, and I'm like, wait a minute. You mentioned the 60s. You mean the riots that the white people were doing when they were integrating schools? Because that wasn't the black people.
I don't know.
So like I was thinking in my head, I'm like, listen.
Yeah, because wasn't there like the whole like hoses being turned on black people, dogs?
There were definitely violent riots, but it was all about integration.
Dog, there was riots back. I believe wasn't this during Trump's administration, but during Obama, I remember there being like something crazy. But no, here's what's wild. Back, I think Obama, like maybe 2014, 2012, something like that. There was a riot based on, I think in Philly or Boston, one of the two, over a football game. And these white people were just tearing things up because their team lost or whatever. But again, I'm pretty sure you're not finding any deaths or anything crazy that happened then. Oh, for a football game.
Right.
Like,
slap on the wrist.
Or even what happened in Virginia back when Trump got first elected, 2016, 2017?
Yeah.
When a bunch of white people showed up with tiki torches and just, like, no one was sitting there, like, yo, getting these people. The thing is also, the riots, those are like a small group of people that like really are just out for themselves.
Well, that's the thing.
So that's the next thing where it's like a lot of these people are just out here just peaceful protesting. Let's be real.
And she just, I don't know. It kind of discredited what she was saying when I thought about it further. I was like, if you're referencing the 60s, at least in my mind, you're talking about when integration was happening and therefore who was really rioting, you know? Because again, insecure white men who don't like anyone having any kind of rights. There you go. So so that was interesting.
Yeah. And
this is why heads up, I don't usually talk politics when I am working unless somebody like initiates it and maybe we seem on the same page, which again, we kind of seemed like we were for a minute. And then I'm like, oh, this is going sideways. Because I'm not trying to have, a bad time.
Yep.
This is someone's wedding day. I don't need like a mother starting to like scream at me or something.
All right. The next thing I want to talk about here, is this flash mob of people going into Target being like, yo, take off your mask.
Oh, gosh. Of like people who look like 20.
Look at 20? I don't know what you're talking about.
Is it the one I showed you?
They don't look 20 to me.
Really?
There was a group of just older people.
Okay.
I mean, it could go from 20, 30 to 40. I mean, it was just a group of, It's just a group of anyone. If you're white, that's what it was. Oh, dang, you see a couple young kids in that. But, like, dog, I think you should... He played the video, and I'm like, if we were in Target, and these people came up to me and, like, we're trying to take your mask off, or trying to... Dog, we're fighting. Like,
I mean, they weren't touching anyone, which is the good thing, because,
We're fighting. Like, stop. Get away from me. Like, stop pushing your views on me. Like, if you're a real Republican and you rock with Trump and all stuff, but, I mean, you really... my God.
Man, good thing I'm taking a shower after we record this podcast, because I just feel so exhausted and ick with all this talk.
Yo, here's the thing. Here's the crazy part of it. Like, they're like, yo, we're not going to push our views on masks wearing on people, but here goes these people pushing into Target saying, yo, take off your mask. You don't need that. We're tired of this.
Well, it never works the other way around. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You're not going to see me going into a place where, a Trump rally being like, yo, put on your mask. You're going to get sick. You're going to get... Dog, do what you want. It doesn't impact me. Just like if a woman decides to not have a baby for whatever reason, it doesn't impact me. Like, I'm not taking care of the kid. Like, that's something that they have to deal with. Like, I don't understand. Which further leads me to Netflix and their CEO pushing that, like, yo, when a vaccine comes out, which Trump keeps toting that it's going to be out before election time so he can get the boost that, like, yo, I brought a vaccine here. You guys should be happy. Does
anybody think that seems extremely fast?
Pretty much.
Like,
polls seem to say that, like, a lot of people don't plan on taking it.
Yes, because nobody, here's the thing. Even the most of pro-vaxxers agree. It just seems rushed, and I don't want to be a guinea pig. That's the common thought.
You're going to end up dying from the vaccine.
Like, the thing I don't like is you're not going to know the long-term effects of it until obviously it's too late.
Yeah.
Because other vaccines, you see what happens, 5-10 years later.
This dog is all up in my grill. Be careful. Whew. Yeah, I want to talk about the CEO of Netflix saying that his employees will return to the office when majority are vaccinated.
Oh, that's a good segue.
So he sees that, like, his employees will be working from home into 2021, given the current time frames of the vaccine development. And I'm not really sure if I agree with this or not agree with this. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they want, because he says some things where he's like the 5-day work week will probably become 4, where they'll have like, people can come in for 5 days into the office and then have 1 day at home, which will probably be that Friday. Which I'm like, okay, cool, but like, I don't know. I'm so like on the fence of this, because I feel like what's gonna end up happening is your company's gonna push to say, yo, vaccine's out. They say there's no effect. You have to go get it by this date. By end of, I don't know, March of 2021. And if you don't get it, then would that be grounds for you getting fired?
Well, here's what I hate with this pandemic stuff and the vaccines and all this. I hate that you're constantly asking, can they do that? Because that just is kind of uncomfortable. Because, yeah, in ordinary times, probably not. But then you're wondering, maybe they can now? Maybe that's more acceptable now? Which is kind of scary.
Yeah, because
I don't think a job should have that authority unless, like, you're a healthcare worker or something along those lines where it is more important.
Because if I don't feel safe, like, stop forcing me. And I'm kind of curious to see how my work's handling it, because I'm working from home till the rest of this year. And then, come January, it's like, okay, see where we can be. Like, can we start back up? I believe it's going to be handled like on a per quarter basis. Like, okay, by March or end of March, can we like start getting people in or something like that? I have no idea. And I don't really understand why there's a major push if work is still happening. And I know for myself, it's going to make me less productive because, dog, I'll be there from 9 to 5 and that's it. Where work from home, I'm sitting here logging on early, past before 9, and then, even working until like 6 or whatever just to make sure everything's good. So you're essentially paying me the same, but I'm working more hours. So it does work out in your benefit if you think about it that way, but that's just my take.
Well, and we've also been through how, from a jobs point of view, if you could save on overhead and more people work from home, I mean, it's a win-win. I feel like there are going to be a bunch of companies at this point who may never go back to the way it was.
Or, have it more like a free open space where you can come in when you want.
Right.
Because there are times, I'll say, where you need to come into the office and just be with your team and work things out. But for the most part, I've said this about my job. I really don't have to be there.
Right.
There's no need. And this proves. We just hired someone out in California. Like, that person's never going to be over here.
Right.
And if they do, maybe they'll come by once life gets back to normal, maybe once a week. Not once a week, sorry. 1 week out of the year, they'll, like, fly just to, meet with the team and just, chill with us. But other than that, like, they'll be chilling in California. Like, imagine that. But I thought that was wild. Man, we've had a political conversation for almost 50 minutes. Goddamn.
50 seconds? That was a lot in 50 seconds.
We're going to switch to something that's a little less political, but a bit more crazy.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Because we need more crazy.
So this relationship topic is about a guy who says, my girlfriend tried to push me off a cliff as a joke. So he goes on to say, my girlfriend, who's 20 years old, is completely crazy, but mostly in a good way. Spontaneous is an understatement.
This is already...
Sometimes she goes too far, but I love her and her crazy personality. He is 18 and he's more relaxed, and they balance each other out.
Oh gosh, so they're kids. Okay.
Two incidents really freaked him out though, and he needs advice. So he was driving on the highway with a lot of traffic, and they were going maybe 40 miles per hour. She suddenly started tickling him and wouldn't stop when he yelled at her.
Oh no.
He jammed on the brake, and someone almost hit them from behind.
Oh no.
He asked her what the F is going on with her, and she just laughed about it and told him to chill. I said, "What would make you want to do that?" And she said, "I don't know. I just felt like it." This is crazy, bro. So he goes on to say, then last Saturday, I was hiking with her, and I was standing near a steep cliff. I'm usually wary of her because you never know what she's going to do, even though it's usually just a prank or something. I let my guard down, and she went behind my back and pushed me towards the cliff, and I swear I almost fell off. She did it hard, and I ended up right at the edge. She was laughing so hard. I freaked out and started screaming at her. I may have been out of line, but holy shit, was his words. She laughed about it at first, but then she started crying, saying she was sorry. The next day, she started texting me saying she didn't mean any harm, and she just didn't know that I would get so mad at her for doing that. Am I crazy for even thinking about this? Is it possible she's just immature, and if I get back with her, she'll be different? I'm kind of lonely, and I really love her, but this really made me rethink the situation because now I feel like she's legit crazy, not just fun crazy.
That was a ride.
Yeah. What's your thoughts?
I feel like she needs to get seen by a professional to see if she's like bipolar or something and like having manic episodes or something like that. I feel like there's something there.
Wow.
Because
I'm driving, don't touch me. Like, don't drive.
Or just something to work through, because I don't know. It's almost like, what would make you crave that high? You know what I mean? And that's also, it's not a safe high, and it's not safe for her either. So it's like there's something going on there.
So we never really do updates on stuff like this. So he did update on this the story. So he says he's been thinking a lot, and he decided that he's going to be ending the relationship with her. It's not easy for him, of course. No breakup is easy, and it's hard because they've been together for almost 2 years. Wow. And she's doing that to you. That's kind of suspect. And she's now trying to kill you in those 2 years?
I'm trying to think of the whole 18 and 16 thing, if that's technically okay in some states.
I believe so.
Okay.
I mean, even if so, it doesn't matter. I mean, they're illegal now. But yeah, he has a ton of guilt on himself, and you remember to ignore things. He's always worried about her after I became the victim. I mentioned that point on another.
It's a long update.
Yeah, I'm not really trying to get into all this stuff, but it seems like this girl's just crazy because he gives an example of she pulled a fire alarm at her job. Yes, she needs to be seen by someone.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like there's something, like, these sound like manic episodes.
Yeah, because her dad got her a job at a front desk at this apartment complex. It's a luxury place, and most apartments, they're high ends and all that stuff. And there's a lot of older people living there. Right near the entrance of the building, there was an elevator which only went up. Then there was a main elevator, which was kind of far down from a long hallway. She had to call the first elevator down after that person was approved to go into the building. One time, he said him and her were smoking and just chilling and talking about stuff, she was laughing to me about how she would sometimes disable the up elevator and pretend it was out of order. And then she'd watch these older handicapped people walk down this long hallway to get to the main door. Main elevator, my bad. If you're 20 years old and you're playing around like this, you got something up with you. I'm just going to tell you straight up.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
like, that's not okay because it's not gonna end well for her. So I feel like people around her who actually care need to, like, you know, guide her to, like, get help in some way. Just see what's going on, because something's deeper there. Something's happening. That's not normal behavior.
Yeah. Well, of course it's not normal.
It's not safe.
It sounds ridiculous. Like, who gets enjoyment out of, like, shutting the elevator and having these old people? No, but it's also, you know, he keeps saying crazy, and I know, like, that's a triggering word for a lot of people because, you know, prior to getting diagnosed with mental diagnoses and stuff like that, you know, people could just call you crazy or psycho or whatever, and it's not really fair if you have, like, a legitimate thing happening that you just need help with, and sometimes the person doesn't see it as that until it's too late sometimes. So it's like, I feel like this is where, you know, family needs to intervene a little bit or something. Just kind of see what's happening here, because that's not good. The thing is, it's unsafe. So now that's important to address. Yeah.
I mean, oh my God, the Cliff thing?
Screw the Cliff. She's doing that to old people.
I know.
She doesn't care.
No, I know, but I thought of the Cliff thing, and I'm just like, you could literally just kill someone. Just yeet them off the cliff.
Dog, if she doesn't care about old people having to fumble their way with their canes and walkers, whatever, down multiple steps, she doesn't care about your life. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, yeah. Yep.
And this guy, he still goes on. I get it, you're young, so, but he's like, he enjoys her craziness, to be honest, even though he was always on edge, but he thought of it as her being fun and spontaneous instead of sadistic.
I promise there's like a medium with that. You can find somebody who's like,
a fun doesn't have to be
right. It doesn't have
life
to be
threatening,
and it doesn't have to be quote unquote crazy. It could just be like high energy, spontaneous.
I want to go here. I want to do this.
Fun, like
let's go
silly,
skydiving, like
right,
something like that.
There's ways to be that without being quote unquote crazy.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're fine. You'll find someone.
Yeah, you're 18. Like,
you'll find someone to experience life with.
Dog, if we had a kid, I always picture like when they're super young, being like, dog, if we had a son that was just like seeing this girl and she said she pushed him off a cliff, there's no talk. You could be together for 5 years, and I'm just like, who would do that? I would never imagine, like, when you go out, like, say we go to the Grand Canyons or something like that, and my joke is to, like, push you off the, like, I'm not playing with that at all. Like, that's not a joke you play
scary.
with.
That's really scary. Because you don't know if they're going to fumble.
Exactly.
That's it. They go forward, that's it. You can't reverse that. Like, you can't catch them because you're going with them. Like, it's, yeah.
Going with them? I don't see me going with you.
No, I'm saying if you try to catch the person, you're just going to, like go flying.
That's an instant, ruining of 2 lives, because that person's gone, and then you're obviously going to be going to jail. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we had a crazy dog like that, like, nah, it's not happening, sis.
Man, we're getting old when we keep saying, like, we think of it in the perspective of having
Whatever
kids.
That old. That's the thing.
I know, but, like, we keep thinking of that versus, like, oh, when I was a kid. We're, like, in that in-between, but, like, we're more leaning towards the, if our kid did this.
I mean, the thing is, we're closer to 30 than we are to 20 now, so.
Well, true.
So, yeah.
True.
Okay, we go to, like, we've gone to the track lately, and, like, there's a lot more young kids out, like, doing football, all that stuff, because now kids are back at school. And it's just like, I'm like, damn, I want to stay away from these young kids, because, they'll be ruthless and be like, yo, you old people need to get out of here.
We're literally only 10 years removed from high school.
I don't want to deal with that.
But it just feels so different. And
also, because we talked about this before, like, when you're in high school, you're in a bubble.
You are.
Like, you're just, dog, the toxicity in that bubble.
Also, it is kind of different these days, though, because, you see these kids on social media who are like 13, 14, 15. The way they look and how we've talked about, there's no awkward phase anymore. They just look like mini adults, like with their boobs and their tops and their whatever makeup and all this different stuff. Versus you look at a picture from when like I was 14. Oh, with like awkward orange makeup, braces, t-shirt, like all this. And I'm just, so that's part of it, is we are different now. I feel like it's totally different what teenagers look like, act like, and all that.
What you just said, if another guy, or if I was to say that, was to say, you know, there's no awkward phase now. These girls just have the boobs.
But you should talk about guys. It's the same, honestly.
I don't feel like that.
Some of these guys look full grown.
Oh, wait. No. Some of these guys look
mature. And they're like 15. And I'm like...
See, I don't agree with that. Maybe because you were in a more white
No, area, but there's both. There are still, yes.
Let me speak my piece.
Okay.
But I was friends with a lot of guys that like didn't look like they were in high school. So like, yeah, like they were like a lot taller, all that stuff. Like they didn't seem like they were high schoolers. Like they could be 17, 16, 18. They didn't seem like that was them, just because of how tall they were and everything. So like, yeah, I totally get it.
Ladies, this is why you always check that ID.
But that's always been a thing for guys. I can't really think of any women back then that like I think they were like older, because they didn't really seem like that.
Yeah,
because women don't really have. You don't really grow like. I don't know. I'm getting too much into it.
You do. Your boobies are growing by then, like very growing. Some earlier than others. There are some girls that started getting boobies in elementary school.
I think just how some of the girls dressed didn't
That's the
relate
thing.
to how adults dress.
It's more, yeah. It's more mature now, and it's weird.
She's like, yo, if we have a daughter, she better not be wearing certain outfits. Where are you going out to school looking like that? Well, you're in a private school. Why are you going out wearing a dress?
I mean, the private school thing, let's talk about it for a minute, because I don't necessarily agree with the skirts to begin with. I feel like they could be a little short.
They're not supposed to be.
I know, but...
So that's really based on the parents, but a lot of them
some
are
girls can,
ethnic.
Yeah.
I've never seen that, at least in my private school days.
Okay.
You're talking from not having experience. I don't want, like, no, you're not going to tear down my experience. I've never seen, and none of the girls I went to private school with, like there was never, it's crazy now that I think about it, but like, yeah, there was never like any like crazy like sexualization like there was in high school.
Yeah.
In private school, like there wasn't like, that wasn't happening. And it was kind of like there was really even no one like dated each other like within that like bubble of a private school, because it was a small group. We all knew each other, but like it was always like other private schools, because you would go to like the dances, and the town would have like 3 different schools in that town.
I remember those ridiculous like short middle school relationships, and like the drama for what, like.
Oh, that's why I never cared.
No, but middle school, that's a little unnecessary. I never dated in middle school. That's
never dated in high school. Well, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah,
there was a few, but then that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, look where it led you.
Off a cliff.
Don't give me any ideas.
You do know these podcasts are recorded and are forever available online, right?
Oh, gosh, right?
Okay. On that note, I'm ready to wrap this bad boy up.
I think Missy is too. She's like, I'm tired.
Yeah, put me down so I can lick my man.
And get some din-din.
She's like, oh, I sniff him.
She's like,
I sniff him.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah. And she sniffed. She's like, I smell him.
She's like, and I barely even have to move.
Okay. All right, guys. We're going to catch you later. Once again, I'm Chanel, co-host Paging the Simpsons. I'm joined by my lovely wife,
Lauren, and now we're going to talk about it. So check out Good Feeling Apparel on Etsy. It is our shop of t-shirts, coffee mugs, face masks, and more.
Yeah, the shirt I mentioned during the podcast, the pro Black Lives Matter, pro-choice, pro-LGBT plus all that shirt is live.
Being pro-human.
So you can check it out in the shop and cop it. Yeah, I'm digging it. I'm probably going to get me one in black because I like how that looks.
Me too.
But with that being said, guys, we will see you next week.
Bye.
Peace out.